Good Times Dan here with Brandan Shieppati from Bleeding Through, lead singer. Want to talk about the beginning days for me, like how it all got started for me and my love for you guys. So this is love, this is murderous, and the truth, right? So those are played out in my car constantly. I remember at a time, because I was in stand-up comedy doing entertaining in LA and stuff, I actually wanted to sing on America's Got Talent, Line in the Sand.
Yeah.
And because at the time I think Sharon Osbourne was one of the judges, and I thought, oh,
I think she
would actually really appreciate this right now. And you actually were on Ozfest.
We were twice.
Yeah, man, twice. So,
and one time we were actually a guest of Kelly Osbourne. So like her mom knew about us. That was kind of cool.
And I remember that, dude. I remember that. So I'm currently in Minneapolis. We're in Huntington Beach, California right now. The last I had heard was the band was playing their last show at Chain Reaction, and they're back together.
Yeah.
How did that happen?
Okay, so we decided to do these last shows, and really what kind of happened is we took a very adult approach to breaking up. It was a time in our life where we were all at a weird crossroads in our life. I had this opportunity to open this gym, and I knew I needed to get rid of all the obligations that I had been leading through to make this happen.
Sure.
And other people in the band had other things they wanted to accomplish. Relationships, kids, buying houses, getting into other careers, stuff like that. And I felt like there was so much obligation to fulfilling things that we had to do for Bleeding Through.
Yeah.
And so I just was like, you know what, on a selfish level, I can't do this anymore. And pretty much everybody kind of agreed. They're like, listen, we need to kind of step away from it. It's like, we want to have kids, and the money that we make from Bleeding Through really isn't sustainable for anything in the way of a family or anything, right? Just we were a decent sized band, but we never made crazy amount of money. We made enough money to live, and that's about it, which is fine. But so we just kind of decided to put it on ice. And at the time, we kind of talked about it as a band, and we're like, if this is forever, this is forever. Let's do these shows, but let's not completely close the book. You know what I mean? Let's leave a little bit of the book open. And I remember kind of 4 years after that, I was in my studio kind of writing some songs for some other projects I had and stuff. And I wrote a song that sounded like a Bleeding Through-ish type song. And I made a little video on my iPhone, sent it to everybody in a group text. And I was like, what do you guys think about this? And they're like, that's fucking awesome. What is that? And I'm like, Bleeding Through ? And everyone was just like, yep, let's do it. And I'm like, well, listen, if anybody objects to doing this, we won't do it.
Sure.
But do you guys want to do this again? And everyone's just like, yeah, let's do it. They made those adjustments and accomplishments in the other areas of their life, and they felt good about playing music again, and it was very free and clear. Another reason why I feel like we kind of disbanded as well was because, man, the industry was just a fucking drag, and we were just getting dragged by our neck through it. We were a band that I feel like we pioneered sort of a genre of metalcore, and we were around for 15 years, sold a lot of records, played a lot of shows, toured forever. I felt like we were kind of important, but we just weren't really being treated like we were important. And it was sort of this thing where I felt like we just had the wrong group of people working for the band.
Sure. And
nobody really had confidence in us except us. And I was like, well, fuck this. I'm done with it then. We're done. We're done being this stepping stone band for these younger bands. We're seeing people that are supposed to be working for us kind of use us as a stepping stone for something newer for them. Just anticipating the end. Instead of saying hey, you guys are something, let's keep this fucking thing rolling.
Right.
There's things that we can still do.
You guys are OGs.
Yeah, let's fucking do this, right? There wasn't that, so we just decided to bail. And then we just was like, you know what, something's still left in the fucking, something's in the closet. We got the skeletons in the fucking closet. Let's take the skeleton out, you know what I mean? Let's do this. And it's been awesome. It's been great because it's we just want to write music and play some shows.
Right.
Money's not important. To be honest, the amount of people that go to our shows isn't even important. It's we want to create for our fans. We want to give them a record. We wanted to give them a record that they could be proud of. We wanted to write a metalcore record where it became taboo to say that and a bad word. And we're just fuck that. We're a fucking metalcore band.
Right.
We're gonna write a metalcore record for fans of metalcore. And if people don't fucking want to listen to it because of that, then fuck them. I'm not gonna lose any sleep. Whereas before, I'd be stressing out about it. So low stress, and it's just been awesome. we did the record Love Will Kill All, and it, you know, we went back to an older booking agent that really saw something in us, who's booking us, and we went to a new management team, new record label, and it's been great so far.
Well, for people that don't know, and myself, kind of curious, the label.
Yeah.
Who did you sign with?
Sharp Tone Records, and it's a kind of like a subsidiary of Nuclear Blast. We worked with Nuclear Blast before in the past in Europe. They put out the record Declaration over there, and they did a smashing job. I know the person that Sean Keith, who runs Sharp Tone here, and it's funny because it's like when I first kind of talked to him, he was starting the label up, and he goes, "Hey man, if Bleeding Through wants to do a record again, just hit me up." And this is the first person I hit up.
So it does have a different sound. I actually really do like the new album. I've got it kind of on my Apple Music playlist every day as I'm driving, you know, just to be able to, I don't know, you get those moods, especially when you're stuck in traffic in California, pissed off. In so many ways, I relate to the lyrics. I like the aggression, you know. When I was telling you earlier, sometimes it makes me just want to punch somebody in the face.
But
it's not because I'm being a dick. It's just like I just want to
punch somebody.
I want to be in a pit.
Love.
You know what I mean? Right. One of the songs that I love off of that album, "No One from Nowhere," and I am curious about the lyrics and where the inspiration for that song came from.
That song purely has to do with my bipolar brain, and that worked in with humanity and how people make mistakes, and it's a song about mistakes. It's a song about being a liar and a fucking addict, because I don't care what you say, everybody's a liar. Everybody's an addict to something.
Sure.
And everybody, you know, if you've said you've never lied before in your life,
you're a liar.
You're a fucking liar.
Sure.
And straight up, and it's like, you know, there's like the title "No One from Nowhere" is like, through life we go through this where we're really fucking nothing. We just are. We're no one. Like, I'm no one from nowhere, man. I'm just a fucking human being that is trying to get through my fucking life and enjoy it as much as I possibly can. And I know I have my flaws, and it's like I let my flaws go out into the world for people to see. But it's also a song about being selfless and realizing like your mistakes and realizing how like your mind is sometimes your own worst enemy.
Sure.
And that's kind of like what that song's about.
Rad, man. That's good. So just something that popped in my mind right now. I wanted to talk about touring. And I remember specifically one tour you were on was called Lisk Fest.
Yeah.
Shout out to Chris Lisk.
Fuck yeah.
And Every Time I Die was playing. And damn it, I wish I remember the dude's name, but every time I see him, I always thank him, because when we were in the pit, I was throwing some windmills and I slugged him right in the skull and I broke my hand. And you were on next. And I was so pissed off. I'm like, dude, I know I broke my hand. I had to go talk to the emergency personnel. You know, they wrapped it up for me, and I went back to see Bleeding Through set.
That's awesome.
And I sat there before I wound up going, yeah, dude.
Total broken hand.
Total broken hand. I'm like, I'm not gonna miss this, dude. I waited all day for this.
That's great.
But in terms of touring, man, like, I think for all your fans at home, people watching, who were some of the highlights? I remember seeing you toured with Marilyn Manson, and I was like, dude, that is huge.
We toured with Marilyn Manson and Slayer. We did a 7-week tour in the States with them. Let me tell you about the first couple of days of the tour.
Sure, yeah.
I started a Marilyn Manson fan, and I ended up not a Marilyn Manson fan anymore.
Man.
It's okay. I still listen to some of his earlier records and stuff. We went on that tour, and we took a van, and it was definitely not a tour that you should do in a van. It was like long drives, hot, it was a summer tour, and I remember being on that tour, and day one, Marilyn Manson's people that worked for him said, "Oh, you guys don't get a backstage room, you don't get catering except for dinner, and as soon as you guys are done with playing, you actually need to leave the backstage area." And we're like, where are we supposed to go? Like, what do you mean? Well, we need 12 backstage rooms just for Marilyn Manson, so if we don't hit 12, you guys don't get a backstage room, and we need you guys to not be in the way. And we're like, damn, they see us as like being in the way? Like, what the fuck? Wow. So we're like, actually saying after the first show, like, do we leave this tour? Like, what do we do? Like, this is a dream come true tour, especially because Slayer's like one of my favorite bands.
Exactly right.
And I'm like, well, what do we do? Like we're gonna be sitting in the sun in a van, and do we need to like leave and go like do shit every day and then come back and count out our merch? Like, what are we doing? Like they're not even allowing us to be backstage, and like it's almost like they didn't want us to be part of the tour. And I remember Slayer's people stepped in and were like, fuck that. This is a co-headlining tour. You guys don't get to call the shots. We wanted Bleeding Through to be on this tour. So they came up and they said, listen, we'll make sure you guys get catering, breakfast, lunch, dinner every day. We'll make sure you guys get a backstage room with a full rider every day. And this whole leaving after you play thing is bullshit. So Slayer stepped up for us.
Like, shout out to Slayer.
Fuck yes.
Thank you so much.
Best fucking band. Literally best band on earth. Like when you get to meet your heroes and they go above and beyond expectations of being like the raddest people ever. Fuck, dude. Like that was like just one of the greatest things. So that's what we took away from that tour.
Did you get to talk to Marilyn Manson?
Marilyn Manson showed up.
Was it 12 rooms? Was that some kind of...
One of his rooms was a party room, and his handlers did up his room and put all of his like rider stuff in there, and they had extra rider stuff just in case the promoter couldn't get it, so he didn't freak out and cancel the show.
Sure.
He would go in there about an hour before he played. He showed up about an hour before he played. Every time he walked through the backstage room, they would try to clear out the hallways for him and all this shit. It just kind of was like, dude, is this dude that, like, is he that big of a dick, or like, what's going on? And then like the second to last day, he was walking around, and this is second to last day of 7 weeks, almost 2 months of a tour. And he was like, hey man, and I'm just like, fuck, like, hey, remember when your people tried to kick us off the fucking tour essentially? Like, okay, and he's like, hey, like, thanks for doing the tour, and I'm like, cool, and then he just walked away. And that was it. That was the only interaction I got with him.
Okay.
I'm like, I think Marta talked to him for like 5 minutes. Probably because he just wanted to get Marta's pants.
Marta
is our keyboard player, yeah.
Yeah, Marta, hottest girl in rock issue. I remember getting that at Revolver Mag. So
that was around that time too.
Yeah, man. Do you know how many years she got that by chance?
It was like 2 years in a row, and it's like she had a good sense of humor about it. She's like, it's more like the only girl in metal.
I remember being on the freeway in Orange County and driving past her, not even knowing, but I had a Bleeding Through sticker on the side of my car, and she was like slapping the window like, it's me.
That's awesome.
So what's up, Marta?
Yeah, so that's one of, I mean, that tour was like, that's one of the most memorable tours.
Sure.
Another memorable tour is touring in 2003 with Sick of It All in Europe. It was our first European tour. That was a whole nother thing. Like, we took from them like professionalism and how like you're not always going to be in the most comfortable situations in the world wherever you tour, but you got to be professional.
Sure.
Like, we had shows on that tour that were like 5,000 people, and we had shows on that tour that were like 15 people. And you got to go out there and you got to fucking play your ass off every night. And that we took that from them, and it was like something that like really stuck with us. And I felt like that tour made Bleeding Through who we were.
So on that, before I forget, people watching at home, kids watching at home, they think they can pick up a guitar and drums and go on tour and live this awesome life. It's not always awesome. What advice would you give to young kids that look up to your band and then want to get out there and play shows in preparation for what they have to look forward to?
Get used to disappointment.
Yeah.
If you can't handle disappointment, you're not going to make it, because for every one good day, there's 5 bad ones. And it's like, I tell people touring is like being an astronaut. It's like, you're like in this amazing world where you get to go share your music with people and meet new people and be in different places all over the world. But the other 5 days are, you're gonna get a flat tire, you're gonna break down, you're gonna run out of gas on the side of the road, you're gonna have shows canceled, you're gonna fucking break bones, you're gonna get sick, you're gonna have some of the most miserable days of your life on the tour.
Your band's gonna flip over.
Your band's gonna be a crap. Exactly. And there's so much sacrifice that goes with it, and you gotta be willing to make that sacrifice.
You're not big overnight. I mean, I think that's the biggest thing.
And now I feel like bands just wait to get big overnight. They put content out there on social media and wait for something to come back and be like, to sort of like validate them. And back when we were starting, it was like you just had to go and get in front of as many people as possible.
It was friends. I mean, I remember those days. We showcase theater.
So back in those days, the shows were like, I knew everybody in the fucking crowd.
Exactly. And I mean, those to me were always my favorite shows.
Yeah.
You know, just having your friends with you. And it's so cool for me now, all these years later, seeing pictures of you, you know, at shows where you've got like a sold out crowd, you know, tons of people. What does that feel like as a performer, as an artist, when you're on stage, looking out, seeing people sing your lyrics? I've always wondered that. Like, is there no feeling in the world that can beat that when you see people singing along to your songs?
It's crazy, man. Like, I remember Like I remember like the very first show that people were singing Bleeding Through lyrics. And Bleeding Through lyrics, like I put like all of me into it. Like it was just like every emotion I had, everything I was dealing with, maybe things that I wasn't forward in public with other people on a personal level, but my way of trying to get it out there was writing it down. And I remember the day that I saw the first people like singing lyrics outside of California, and I remember being like, oh my God, this is crazy. And then we went, and fast forward 2008 or 2003, we played a show in London, and it was like one of the very first shows that people were like, the whole crowd knew who we were. And I remember like leaving stage and I started crying. And Marta's like, what's up? And I'm like, fuck dude, like, these are people that take time to know our band, and they're like
across the world.
Like
right.
This is fucking insane. Like it's too much for me right now. Like I just don't know how to deal with it.
Well, it kind of leads into my next question. So you're on tour, you're the dude from Rise Above and Bleeding Through. What are some of your most memorable moments on tour, whether they're good or bad, things that stand out in your mind when you think of the touring life?
Well, one of the worst things is getting in a van accident in 2004. That was pretty rough.
Is that on YouTube?
That's on YouTube.
Yeah.
You can go look. Just YouTube Bleeding Through van accident, and you'll see it.
Yeah, man, that was actually that was scary.
It was fucked up. That was gnarly. And fast forward, it was kind of funny. 10 years after, a day before, almost the same day, 10 years after, we got in another crazy van accident.
I didn't hear about that one.
We didn't really make that one like public, and it wasn't on hard copy or whatever the fuck that one. There wasn't video of it.
Who caught that? Was that CHP that caught that?
It was Utah State Police.
Oh wow. Well, good thing that somebody was there though to help you out after.
So that was gnarly, and it was just things like that. But there's a lot of memories. I remember some of the worst things, unfortunately. I just remember like the struggle and being sick and just like getting a tooth pulled out and 1 hour later being on fucking stage, like just it's like I had to go to a dentist in a house dentist in Long Island.
Wow.
Yeah, it's crazy, but it's like one of those things where like that's what I remember. I remember the struggle. That's like the things I remember. But we toured with great bands. Like we toured a bunch with like Between the Buried and Me. Those are always awesome guys. Every Time I Die were always awesome. Darkest Hour was always awesome, and it's sort of funny, like I see some of those bands now and I walk up and I apologize and they're like, what do you apologize for? I'm like, I apologize for sometimes me not hanging out as much. And they're like, well, what do you mean? And I'm like, well, I'm bipolar, and I was, and sometimes like the biggest mission for me was just to get on that fucking stage, because there were so many days where I was like, I can't do this.
Just wanted to isolate.
I needed to isolate just to put my mind right, to get on that stage for an hour and then get off stage.
Shout out to Every Time I Die, by the way. Love them. True dudes. So they're on the last year of this band's Warped Tour, and did you guys consider doing that at all? I mean,
we've never been. You know what? We've never been asked. Unfortunately, I've talked to Kevin Lyman in my office before when Rise Above Fitness did Warped Tour as like their trainers, and I was talking to him about like why Bleeding Through never got an offer. Yeah. And he said to me, he's like, listen, the first year I put you on, the only year I put you on, you guys were known as the fight band. Every show, fights everywhere, and it was because it was in 2005. There wasn't a lot of bands like us on Warped Tour, so if you're on Warped Tour and you're a hardcore band, every kid that was like a hardcore kid or a metal kid would go watch you play and just like.
Well, people don't understand there's a form of dancing called windmilling. And if you're not a hardcore kid and you don't know how that dance works, you think somebody's trying to punch you. And it's really, they're just dancing. They're kicking, that's part of the dancing. And I remember being at shows, and I know that's how it started, because then you'd have punkers that would show up to the band, skinheads, and they would think that you were literally throwing blows with them. So I get that, but man, times have changed. That's a bummer, dude.
They are, and it was like one of these things where like we didn't ask for it, but like there was a couple of shows where we literally would walk on stage and ring out and fights would start. And we're like, what the fuck, man? Like, and we just got.
It could have been me starting a pit.
We got stuck with that label, and we kind of were like 86th from like right there, and like.
Oh, man.
And I remember talking to Lyman, and I said like, dude, like, he's like, listen, he's like, if we would have asked you to be on Warped Tour the next year or the year after that, it still would have carried that fight band image, and it probably would have changed the trajectory of your band. And I'm like, well, I've never thought about it that way.
Yeah.
I'm like, he's like, so let's just put Rise Above on there. And I'm like, well, I appreciate the love for that.
Yeah, honestly, and shout out to bands too. Those dudes are super cool, man.
I 100% back Warped Tour. I fucking love Warped Tour, and I think it does so much good things for so many bands. And so many bands wouldn't have like be nearly where they are without Warped Tour.
For sure, man.
And it's kind of cool. It's like summer camp for adults, and it's like
it is.
I loved being on there. It was funny. being on Warped Tour, not with music, you kind of have this like vibe. You're like, this is really fun. It's like,
yeah, man, for sure. Yeah, and actually, I mean, I was shocked. Somebody had to tell me about this being the last year for Warped Tour, so I'm kind of bummed that's going away. Hopefully, it's like Bleeding Through saying they're gone and bands will be back.
I think it will come back on
tour. Come on, bands, please come back, man. We love you. So, you know, I like to kind of end every interview with this question. So my name's Good Times Dan. Good Times to me has always been about friendship. There's a stereotype out there, you know, I like to say people think that when you hear Good Times, automatically it's associated with you, this guy must party a lot, he must do this and that and all these weird things. No, it's about everything we're talking about, man. It's about growing up in that scene, the hardcore scene, being around friends, just having a good time, and honestly, kind of being in the 1 percentile of people, man. That's what was so cool about that scene, was we really were. We're all straight edge dudes. We didn't have to party, do drugs back then, and we just loved being around each other. So I know what Good Times means to me. So I gotta ask you, man, what does Good Times mean to you?
Honestly, like Good Times to me is just being in an area with like people that I know that like absolutely care about me, and literally like a good time for me is just hanging out mellow, having conversations, and like joking with each other. Something just, the more mellow and more laid back it is, that's like my happy spot, and that's a good time for me for sure.
Rad, man. It sounds like kind of family and friends, being around people you care about.
Totally.
Man. That's what it's all about. All right, dudes and dudettes, thanks for checking us out, man. All right, guys, what's up? This is Good Times Dan with Brandan Shieppati from Bleeding Through. This is part 2 of our interview. So, this is love, this is murder, the truth.
Murderous.
Oh, geez, hold on. Sorry, hold on. Start over. Let's start this again. This is love, this is murderous. Sorry, hold on.
Sorry. People do that all the time.
In so many ways, I relate to the lyrics. I like the aggression. You know, I was telling you earlier. Sometimes it makes you just want to punch somebody in the face.
That means.
But it's not because I'm being a dick. It's just like I just want to
punch somebody.
I want to be in a pit.
Love.
You know what I mean? Right. So I brain farted. Fuck.
You're talking about no one for nowhere.
Yes. Sorry. So I want to punch somebody in the face.
Yeah.
Sorry. So.